Hello, this is my project, Overloaded Cook, Project 2, Option 3. My name is Brian Lamb. This is for Professor Chan's class, Computer Science, 1437. The goals of the project were to implement a system to handle various events, such as rush hour, kitchen mishaps, um, customer arrivals, and even a rest hour that the player encounters throughout the day. We were then to implement a base dish class that had at least 4 derived classes using polymorphism, and some of the attributes of that base dish class were to have the dish's price, the cooking time of the dish, and EXP required to cook the said dish. We were then to implement a system where players would get benefits to their income upon completing a certain dish if their proficiency had increased when they cooked that dish. Whenever a player completes a dish, they get EXP, and their proficiency in that dish will increase by 1. The more XP a player has, the more dishes they'll be able to cook, and the higher the proficiency, the more benefits they get. We were then to implement player actions where a player had to uh, respond in an action to a random event such as sweeping the floor or cooking a dish. And then we had to implement a daily quota where the player had to reach a quota for the day, and upon failure of reaching that quota, they had to retry the day. Lastly, we were to implement a save and load feature that is able to save the player stats and their proficiencies of each dish, and then be able to load those player stats and proficiencies in the level that the player was on and continue from there. This is my base dish class that will use polymorphism. I have an overloaded constructor that changes the name of the dish, the cost of the dish, the cooking time of the dish, and the minimum required XP to cook the dish. I have getter functions to get the name, minimum XP, the cost, and the cooking time. And then I have 3 virtual functions that will get the cooking time based off of the proficiency of that dish and the income based off of the player's proficiency of that dish. I'm sorry. And as well as print info based off of the dish. This is my derived dishes CPP where I have my hamburger class and the classes for all the dishes, where the default constructor of all the classes initializes the name to hamburger or the corresponding derived dish, as well as the price of each dish, the time it takes for each dish, and the minimum required XP of each dish. And then the print info function as well will print the name, cost, cooking time, and the minimum XP required of each dish. In my player.cpp, I have a player function, player constructor that initializes XP to 0, income to 0.0, and level to 1. Then I have a overloaded constructor that takes input and does EXP, income, and level respectively to those. And then I have a get proficiency function that takes that gets the dish's name and returns the proficiency level of the player in that dish. Increase proficiency function takes the dish's name and finds that dish for the player and increases that proficiency level of that dish for the player. I have a take order function where the player will take the order of that dish and they will get their proficiency, the player's proficiency of that dish, and will get a cooking time based off of their proficiency in that dish. And the game will output the amount of time it needs to take to cook that dish, as well as that their proficiency increased if they have enough XP to cook the dish, and they will complete the dish. Upon not having enough EXP, the game will output that they don't have enough XP to cook the dish and they will not get any rewards from completing dish. In complete dish function, the player will get 10 XP and their income is increased to the amount earned, which is the base income of the dish by times the multiplier of their proficiency. And then their proficiency is increased as well based off of the dish that they cooked. And the game will output that they finished making that dish and the rewards that they got and their current proficiency in that dish. The sweep function will tell you that you're sweeping the floor and you will get 5 EXP for sweeping the floor. Gain EXP function will take in an integer variable and add that to XP. Reset daily income will change income to 0 to simulate a new day. Get EXP will return EXP, get income will return income, get level will return the current level. Next level will increase the level to the next by 1. Print stats will print the player's XP, their current income, and their current level. Print proficiencies will get the player's current proficiencies and print out the name of the dish as well as the player's proficiency level in that dish. Get proficiency list will get that list and put it in a will return it as a vector in a vector named proficiencies. And load proficiencies is used in loading, where they will load that data of their proficiencies of names and the level into proficiencies. In my events CPP is where I have the customer arrival function, kitchen mishap function, or the classes, and as well as the trigger function, which are also using polymorphism, where a different trigger will happen based on the different class of event. Customer arrival will have a new customer show up and will print the info of the dish that the customer wants, and the player will have to take that order of the dish. Kitchen mishap will tell the player that they lost 1 EXP and they lose 1 EXP. Rush hour is where the player is overloaded and they go through 3 kitchen mishaps, losing 3 XP. And rest hour is where the player gets rest and they will gain 5 XP. These are my save and load functions, where in my save game I get the player's EXP and I save it to a file named save.txt. It will save the player's XP, their income, and their current level, and then it will get the amount of proficiencies they have, so max 4, and then it will output the dish name and then the level of their proficiency of the corresponding dish. It will let you know that the game saved. The load game function is the corresponding load game function. It will load the player's XP, income level, and the amount of proficiencies that they had, and then it will initialize the player to those stats, and then it will go through the rest of the file to input the name of the dish as well as the corresponding proficiency level of the dish. And then here, this is where I make a shared dish pointer to get a random dish with all 4 of my dish classes, where I have 1 through 4, it's the 4 dish classes, and if they put anything else, if it's any other number, it's gonna be a hamburger. I have a get random event function where I put in all of the different event triggers into a random one, and the customer arrival will also get a random dish for the player. Then I have a read high score function where I read in a high score from highscore.txt if there is one. And there's a write high score function that writes the high score if your income is higher than the current score in the highscore.txt file. And then the play day function that will come into play in the main gameplay loop. So this is where I initialize the player and the user select and read in the high score if there is one, and it will output a welcome message, a high score, and then it will prompt the user to start a new game, load game, or quit. And the player will go through those actions. It'll do It'll initialize the player if they start a new game, or it will load the player stats if they load the game. But if they quit, it will just exit, and then initializing the player's current level based off of the loaded file or a new save file, and then the quotas are set for all of the levels. And then it'll go through the while loop. It will loop through while they still want to play. So it'll set up the quota, and it will call the playdate function. And the playdate function will loop as well, as long as max actions or actions has not reached max actions, which is to simulate the 9 to 9 hour shift. And the game will display a message of the day that you're on and the quota to meet, and then it will reset your income to 0 to simulate the new day. And then inside the play day, the main gameplay loop is you either sweep or cook a dish, and upon choosing one or the other, you will either cook a random dish if you have enough EXP to cook it, or you will sweep to be able to just get 5 XP. And if you enter anything else, it will ask you to do it again. And if you, after you've completed one of those, your actions will go up, simulating 1 hour. The 1 hour has passed, and then you will get a random event. Upon the random event triggering, your player will either get rewards or benefits, and those are revealed here in the player stats based on your income, XP, and the proficiencies. And then it will go through that 12 times, and then it will exit the loop. And if you've met the quota, you will be able to go to the next level. And if you meet the quota, your income will then be the new high score, and then you will save the game. And if you don't meet the quota, you'll be forced to retry the day, because when the function exits, it will come to this prompt where you will have to continue the day, retry the current day, or save and quit. If you choose continue day and you've met the quota, you'll be able to just go to the next level. If you try to go to the next day and you don't meet the quota, you will automatically retry the current day. If you try to retry the current day, you will retry the current day. And if you select 3, you'll save and quit. And if you put in any other input, it'll tell you that it's an invalid input or the quota hasn't been met, so you will retry the day. This is the main gameplay loop. When the program begins, it welcomes you to the game, shows the highest high score, and asks you to start a new game, load game, or quit the game. If you start a new game, the day begins, day 1 begins, the quota is $100, it's 9 o'clock, you can sweep the floor or cook a dish. I'm gonna sweep here. We went through rush hour, so we lost 3 XP. We gained 5 first, and then we lost 3 XP. We're still here. We didn't get any income, but we have 2 XP now, so let's try and cook a dish. Try to cook fried rice. It wasn't enough, but a new customer came, so they wanted us to make a hamburger, so we cooked a hamburger, and our proficiency in hamburger increased, and we got $10 and 10 EXP as well. And it's 11 o'clock now. Let's cook another dish. French fries. Yep. We had enough EXP, so we cooked French fries, and our proficiency increased. Our proficiency in that is 1 now. Then we had a kitchen mishap, so we lost the EXP. Cook another dish. Yep. All the way until 21 hours. And then the game saves. We met the quota, so the game saved to save.txt, and we had a new high score here on 128, and it saved our proficiencies. See, we only had 3 proficiency because we didn't cook one of the dishes. And now we can either continue or save and quit. Save and quit here. And then let's try to load the file. So it has the high score now, and now we can load a game. If I load the game, tell us that we got it, loaded in our proficiencies, and then day 2 begins. Sorry, this was a bug. And then yes, but it was able to keep our level, keep our proficiencies and stuff. And yeah, that's the game.